With that down, let's move on to our third main topic today. And our third main topic today gets sent in to us from John Matt, who writes, "Hey John, love the show. Thank you so much, John. Great first name, by the way. Allegedly, Henry Cavill would still play Superman under one condition. Cavill said that he was interested to return as Superman in another movie and, quote unquote, explore how it affects someone with absolute power. Personally, I would love to see Cavill come back as Supes. Do you think it would be a good idea to bring him back, or should Warner Brothers recast just like Robert Pattinson's Batman?" All right, thanks a lot for the question, man. And so this is where this is all coming from. So there are some headlines out there like on Cinema Blend. I love the Cinema Blend website, by the way. There are some headlines saying, maybe you've seen these running around. Henry Cavill lays out the one condition that he would need met in order to come back as Superman. Henry Cavill says he'll come back as Superman under one condition. It's like, so where's all this coming from? Here's where this is coming from. All these headlines you're seeing coming, this is where they're coming from. A random dude was at San Diego Comic-Con, bumped into Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill told him this, and he put it up on his Twitter. Now, it should be mentioned that this random person at Comic-Con who claims to bump into Henry Cavill, it should be mentioned that included with his tweets is a big picture of him and Henry Cavill together on the streets of San Diego at Comic-Con. So this is a guy who did indeed bump into Cavill, probably had a chance to have a quick word with him. So just keep that in mind. I'm not saying that automatically makes this true, but it is something you need to keep in mind. Okay, so what did Henry Cavill say? Well, he says in a series of tweets that I run into Cavill, it was great. We talked about this, talked about that. He talked about Cavill saying that, yeah, he would want, if he were to come back as Superman, he would want something. This is one of the tweets that came out of that. And again, this is the user at i6hitman who wrote this. And in one of the tweets talking about his encounter with Cavill, this is how he phrased it. He said he still wants to play Superman, wants, though, a sequel to Man of Steel. He wants a sequel to Man of Steel. Wants to explore how it affects someone with absolute power. So many stories to tell of what makes him tick. So where all these things are coming from that you're seeing these headlines for is that this guy some random guy bumped into Henry Cavill who told him a couple of things. But again, you do got to keep in mind that he clearly did bump into Henry Cavill, got his picture with him, all that kind of stuff. So that's verified. So what do we think about something like Henry Cavill having a condition under which that would require him to come back to Superman? For me, there's a couple things that come to mind. Let me say this first off the top. You guys know Henry Cavill is my favorite Superman. I love Henry Cavill, and I am the world's, maybe more than Henry Cavill himself or Henry Cavill's mama. I am the world's biggest fan of Man of Steel. There is nobody who likes Man of Steel more than me. That may be a good thing, that may be a bad thing, I don't know, but it is what it is. I adore Man of Steel. I love this film, and I love Henry Cavill as Superman. I desperately want him back as Superman. That said, I think it has been kind of clear for a while, and I think these comments only make it more clear that Henry Cavill is probably actually done. Because if you were still going to be Superman, you don't say, I still would like to be Superman. You say, hell, kid, I am Superman. But they're not saying that. And saying things like, oh, I would still like to be Superman. I'd like this, and this. Gosh, that sounds awfully similar to the talk that Ben Affleck and his crew were giving people for the 2 years that we all knew he was already done as Batman. They just weren't admitting it at that point. Oh no, I remember Ben Affleck at Comic-Con. I still want to be Batman. I'll crawl on all fours like an ape for Matt Reeves to be Batman. Blah blah. Remember that? Remember that? This is starting to sound really similar to that. This is starting to sound really similar to that. Oh, sure, I'd still like to be blah, blah, blah. I think the fact of the matter is, despite all of my crossed fingers and all of my wishing upon a star and all of me throwing coins into fountains at a mall and all the wishes that I've been making, I think it's becoming more and more clear that Henry Cavill's not going to be Superman anymore. And that breaks my heart. I know it breaks a lot of your hearts. I also don't think it would be Henry Cavill's place. I don't think it's Henry Cavill's place as an actor to say what the next Superman movie should be about. It's not his place. The next Superman movie should be about what it's like for a character to have absolute power and how does that affect you. That's kind of, in a way, what Bryan Singer was going for with Superman Returns. It was kind of more looking at it as a character study with Brandon Routh about what happened, the isolation that comes when you're basically a god amongst mortals. You know, he tried that approach and the audience seemed to reject it. And I don't know that it's Cavill's place to say out, I'll come back, but only if the movie's about this. Henry, I love you. You're one of my favorite, but that's not your place. It's not your place. So unfortunately to me, I think what all the signposts are pointing towards is that whenever Warner Brothers does get around to doing another Superman, and they, look, Superman has been a very divisive character amongst the fans for the last couple of years. A lot of people do not like Man of Steel, despite how much I love it. A lot of critics didn't like Man of Steel, despite how much I love it. A lot of people didn't like the Superman iteration that we had in Batman versus Superman. A lot of people didn't like the Superman iteration we got in Justice League. There's just a lot of fans that don't like this iteration of Superman. I think they like Henry Cavill, but they just didn't like the iteration that they had. So what we have here is Warner Brothers taking a step back and saying, we're going to let Superman sit on the burner for a while because we've got some work to do on it. And it looks like to me that Warner Brothers' position on this is we need to revamp. And much like they're revamping Batman with Robert Pattinson, I think at some point in the next couple of years, we're going to get an announcement about somebody else being our new Superman. And I don't think it's going to be Henry Cavill. Is it impossible that Henry Cavill could still come back and be Superman again? No, it's not impossible. And again, I will have confetti falling from, I will have people come in to throw confetti, I will wear a party hat, and I will be celebrating with everybody else. If the day ever comes that they announce that they're going to make another Superman movie with Henry Cavill, I'll be partying it up with everybody. But I don't think that's what they're doing. I hope I'm wrong, and it's certainly not impossible. So if you've got hope for it still, keep hope alive. I'm just saying, honestly, I think it's looking kind of grim at this point. Anyway, what do you guys think about all that? Jump down in the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. All right.